Welcome to POS 322, African Political Thoughts. Study Section 1, Nature of Political Thoughts. Introduction. As we set out to outline and discuss issues relating to African political thoughts in the pages ahead, I am sure you will agree with me that the first logical step should be in the direction of understanding what is meant by political thought in general. This is what I will attempt to outline in this first lecture. You will recall, of course, that the opening lecture for an earlier course on political ideas, POS 212, addressed the same issue of the nature of political thought. For our purposes, nevertheless, it is important that we refresh our memories on the nature of political thought in general, so that we will be in a good position to fully grasp the essence and element of that variance of political thought that has come to be identified with the African continent. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Define political thought. 2. Distinguish political thought from other kinds of thought, such as economic thought, geographic thought, sociological thought. 3. Point out what unites political thought with this other kind of thought about the human condition and society. And 4. Against this general introductory background, prepare you for discussions on that particular brand of political thought identified with the African continent. At the end of this lecture, therefore, it is expected that you will be able to define political thought and outline what unites and separates political thoughts and other kinds of thought on the human conditioning in society. You would also have been prepared for the task of placing in proper perspective the subject matter of this course, namely African political thought. Content. What is political thought? Our most immediate task is find answers to this question. What exactly is political thought? Briefly explained, political thought refers to that body of ideas that have examined issues and events relating to politics. I am sure that questions that readily come to your mind now include the following. How have such ideas evolved over time? Who and which groups have been the sources of these ideas that form what is now known as political thought? What kind of issues have such ideas addressed? Simply put, and as indicated earlier, political thought is made up of ideas about politics which have been codified through the ages and handed down from generation to generation. Thus, every individual is a potential contributor to political thought to the extent that he is likely to have some ideas about politics and the political process. A further step is taken towards realizing this potentiality when such ideas are codified in such a manner that they can reach a wider audience and can be transmitted across time and space. To this extent, political thought is neither difficult to understand nor restricted to prosectional philosophers and the major thinkers that have been celebrated by history. There is a thinker in all of us. Political thought has also been described as a body of ideas that serve as a framework for organizing societies, as well as providing an outlook for the future. To talk about political ideas and political thought, however, is to imply that there are other bodies of thought that are not political. For instance, that there are economic thought, social thought, religious thought, legal thought, whose provinces are independent of one another, and in this instance, also independent of politics. Why this is, to a large extent, true, I must also call your attention to the fact that there is an independence and interconnection among various aspects of human life. It is hardly ever possible in real life to identify a problem or issue that is unidimensional. In other words, no issue is ever purely economic or purely social or purely political or purely legal. A major economic problem is likely to have political and social dimensions, while a political issue could have its religious connotations. Having sounded this note of caution, we can still go ahead for purposes of analysis to focus on ideas that make up political thought, which, as stated earlier, have addressed themselves down the centuries to problems and issues central to political and political life. Basically, the emergence of political thought can be traced to that period in prehistory when some human beings became more powerful than other human beings, leading to the development of hierarchical relationship in society. Subsequently, this led to the attempts to answer certain questions relating to how some individuals, groups, and institutions could control others in society, and why those being controlled acquiesce in this subordinate or superordinate relationship. Such questions included those on why some people govern, how they govern, and how they should govern, and why others allow themselves to be governed. In answering these questions and others relating to the exercise of power and the securing of authority, legitimacy, and political obligations, political thought had as a central concern an examination of the nature of the state as it has evolved since the need for political control arose in society. What then is this state, which is the core issue that has generated so much interest in political thought? Before you go on further, you should write a 3-paragraph essay on your understanding of this concept of the state. You may consult dictionaries and other available texts before doing this. After this, underline what you consider the major point in this section and use your dictionary to confirm the meaning of such words as authority and legitimacy. The state, a core issue in political thought. What is fascinating about the state is that it is a paradoxical concept. It is at once an empirical entity and an abstract entity. You can feel it and sense it, but you cannot touch it. It is with you from birth to death, in the form of birth and death registrations, public rules and regulations, the police, etc. Yet, we can conceive of it only at an abstract level as a sovereign entity, seeking and exercising dominance and authority over a defined territory, its people and institutions. With this definition of the state in mind, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the state is not the same thing as government. Government is the enforcement arm of the state, as it were. In other words, government is the machinery with which the authority of the state is exercised. It is a tiny part of the state, but the state is a more permanent entity. There are several ways in which the state has been perceived. One perspective sees the state as a system of force, insisting that political obligation is rooted in an apparent fear of compulsion. A second perspective sees the state as a system of widely acknowledged laws and procedures governing the exercise of force, which is thereby transformed into power. Political obligation here is then seen as arising not from naked force or fear of compulsion, but from the general agreed principles guiding the exercise of power. A church tradition sees the state as a cohesive entity whose authority is recognized in practice and perceived necessary. Political obligation and obedience is thus seen as arising from a general agreement as to the need for the state and the means and ends of the state. All these perspectives and discussions help to bring out the nature of political thought and issues that have been controlled political thought. They therefore provide a necessary background to our discussion of African political thought in the pages ahead. For now, write a 2-page essay on the state force, power, legitimacy, and authority. Summary: political thought refers to that body of ideas concerned with the nature of the state, its relationship with society, and related issues on the origin and essence of political power, legitimacy, authority, and political obligation. It is concerned with that aspect of society that deals with politics, although it recognizes the multidimensional nature of human society and the extent to which all aspects of those society, political, economic, religious, social, etc., are interrelated. End of study section 1. Thanks for listening.